Why is it going down the spoon? I feel like I may have ruined it, but together, a whiskey sour and red wine, I don't know. Well, hello there and welcome back to another episode of Cocktails with Ciara. My name is Ciara and I'm a whiskey-loving Irish gal who's on a cocktail voyage of discovery. If you are new here, I have zero professional bar experience other than a passion for making mixed drinks at home and showing you how I do it. So hit that subscribe button, stick around, and we both just might learn something, because if I can do it, you can do it. So in today's video, I'm going to be making a variant of the popular whiskey sour family. It's also a cocktail that I have never made or tried before. I'm going to be making a New York sour. So yes, the New York sour is a rather interesting twist on the classic whiskey sour. And in case you haven't watched it, I have a video on the classic whiskey sour. It was actually one of the first cocktail videos that I did on my channel. I will link it below. The whiskey sour itself is an incredibly old cocktail with a really interesting history. So if you want to know more about that, it is linked in the description. So before we get into the history of a New York sour and I show you how I make it at home for the first time, I would like to take a second to tell you about my Patreon. Not only is it a great way of supporting my channel, but you can also have access to exclusive content. You can join in on my monthly live stream with my Patreon community, and you can see the footage that is just too tipsy for YouTube. Okay, so let's take a look at the history of a New York sour. So it's actually interesting to note that the New York sour, which is a variant of the whiskey sour, is almost as old as the whiskey sour cocktail itself. The first recorded mention of a whiskey sour is in about 1872, while the first recorded mention of a New York sour is actually in about 1880. So it really didn't take that long for the New York sour to come around. It was first created in the 1880s by a bartender in Chicago and was first called the Continental Sour and was then renamed to the Southern Whiskey Sour before it became popularized as the New York Sour. So it's had a few different names. So even though the drink itself wasn't actually created in New York like the name suggests, it was actually a Manhattan bartender that began serving it and made the drink incredibly popular that led to the New York Sour name. So now that I've given you a little bit of history on the New York Sour, let's get into its ingredients. So as you can imagine, the New York Sour is a whiskey-based drink and you can either use rye or bourbon in it. So there are actually two different variation names. There is the Greenwich sour and there's also the Brunswick sour. So depending on whether you use rye or bourbon and whether or not you include an egg white or not, it will have different names. So for today's New York sour, I'm going to go with a rye whiskey. I'm going to use my Old Faithful Bullet Rye. I think it's going to make a really, really nice New York sour because it makes a great whiskey sour. And then in this drink, I'm also going to be using a fresh egg white as well. So that would mean that it is a Greenwich sour. And then if we were making a Brunswick sour, we would be using bourbon and we wouldn't be using an egg. So along with our rye, we're also going to be using some freshly squeezed lemon juice, some simple syrup. It's very much going along the same pattern of a typical whiskey sour, a couple of dashes of angostura bitters as well. But what makes the New York sour very different to other sours is that we're going to be doing a float of red wine on top. It's that ingredient that initially stopped me from ordering or making this cocktail. I find the idea of adding red wine into a whiskey sour really strange, but I'm going to trust the process and see how it works out because I've definitely been proven wrong before in this channel, so I'm going in with an open mind. I'm sure there are suggestions for which red wine is the proper one to use in a New York sour, but I have a Centello Tempranillo Spanish wine here, which I'm going to use because it's just one I happened to have in the apartment. All right, so now that we've got all of our ingredients ready for a New York sour, let's go ahead and actually make it. All right, so let's start off by adding in our rye. We're going to be doing about 45 or 50 mils straight into the shaker. So I'm almost finished my rye. Luckily, I have a fresh bottle waiting to be opened, so fear not. So we're also going to be adding about 25 mils of fresh lemon juice. So let's squeeze this into the shaker. Okay, so we've got 25 mils of our fresh lemon juice. We're going to pop this in on top. And then we're going to add in about 12.5 mils of our simple syrup. This is just a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar and water. And then we're gonna go in with a dash of angostura, and I think that this goes directly in the shaker. I could be wrong, but okay, and now for the moment of truth, I'm gonna try and add in an egg white. It says here roughly 12.5 mils of an egg white, so I'm just gonna see how much one is. I honestly haven't separated an egg white in a while, so wish me luck. The fresher the eggs, the easier it is to separate the white, or so I'm told. Okay, that was actually really easy. Okay, so I've got about 15 mils of egg white, which is a little bit more, but that's fine. Maybe it'll make it foamier, which is not a problem. Almost forgot to add in my ice. Pop you in. Now we're gonna give this a really good shake and try and get a nice head on the cocktail. Ooh, okay. She's got a nice foamy head. We love to see it. So let's go ahead and strain this in. Wow, that looks gorgeous. And the angostura, having that in the shaker, has given it a really, really nice color. Potentially I was supposed to leave that until the end, but hey. So I've got a gorgeous head on that. I'm really, really happy with that. Ooh, maybe I was supposed to put ice in this. I could slip a cube in there and not disrupt it. I'm gonna be really bold and just like drop it in, which is not something that they would do at a fancy cocktail bar. Wait, I can't taste it. I was just about to taste it, but I'm not allowed. Okay, beautiful. We've snuck the ice in. No one's the wiser. That's almost it. Now we're just doing arguably the most exciting part, which is the red wine float. So I've done a couple of floats on this channel before, and to say my floating skills leave a lot to be desired. I need to learn how to float properly. I know to do it on the back of a bar spoon. I'm gonna do it on the back of a wider spoon because I feel like I need all the help that I can get. So rather than pouring straight from the bottle, I'm just gonna measure out about 15 mils, 12.5 mils of my red wine. This is the moment of truth. I'm actually a bit scared. And I'm just gonna slowly pour it. I'm nervous. Before I absolutely ruin the head that is on this drink, it has a very sizable head. Maybe my shaking skills weren't as bad as I thought. Oh, fuck. Well, that went well. Why is it going down the spoon? Right, let's just quickly change spoons. Oh yeah, it really was supposed to be a bar spoon, wasn't it? I feel like I may have ruined it. I mean, look, it could be amazing. Is it supposed to look like that? Okay, so our New York sour is finished. I'm not gonna lie, it was touch and go there for a minute. I feel like it looks kind of odd, but I think that this is how it is supposed to look. I'm very curious as to what it tastes like. I'm a little bit dubious as to whether or not I'm gonna like red wine in this drink because I love a whiskey sour, but like I said, open mind, I'm willing to be proven wrong. So if you will join me over on my cocktail drinking chair, let's try a New York sour for the first time and see how she tastes. Okay, so we are back in the cocktail drinking chair. I have my New York sour right here. Get a look at that color gradient. It is so strange. It reminds me of like a summer ice pop, like a popsicle or something. It's very strange. I do love a whiskey sour, which I've said before. They're one of my favorite cocktails. I'm not going in with super high hopes. I do like red wine though. I suppose that's worth mentioning. I really enjoy red wine. But together, a whiskey sour and red wine, I don't know. I should just go ahead and try it, see how it tastes, and then we can decide. So, cheers. Well, okay. Interesting. I am happy to say that I have been proven wrong. This is delicious. It's really, really enjoyable. It's really interesting. The red wine is there. It's subtle, but there's like a hint of it. But it works really, really well within the drink. It's not overpowering. I feel like the flavors play off each other nicely. Obviously, you still have that lovely creaminess and like mouthfeel of an egg white whiskey sour. It's really, really foamy. It's almost like desserty and kind of sweet. You get the kick of the whiskey, but it's all blended really, really well. But the red wine is there, but it's welcome, I can't say it crossed my mind to order one before. I would usually just go for a regular whiskey sour, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to having it in a lovely cocktail bar. If I saw it on the menu, I wouldn't skim over. I would give it a chance the next time I see it. And actually, if you at home are watching this and you're a whiskey sour fan and the thoughts of red wine in it, if you find it as weird as I did, give it a shot, give it a chance. It might actually surprise you. So it is at this point in the video that I get to sit back, enjoy my cocktail, and answer some questions from my Patreon community. So I have a question here from someone called Brizzle. I'm not sure if that's your first name or your second name, but either way, it sounds great. And Brizzle says, Ciara, I just had a friend ask for hundreds and thousands on an ice cream. Is this a normal way to say sprinkles? Yes, it is a normal way to say sprinkles. We say hundreds and thousands, and what you would typically get on an ice cream in Ireland, we call it a 99 here. I don't know, is our ice creams called 99s in other places in the world, but in Ireland we call them 99, and they usually come with a flake, or you can get like different types of sauce on them, like syrups, and you can get hundreds and thousands, which are sprinkles. But we also would know sprinkles. Like if you said sprinkles, someone would know what you mean, if that makes sense. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching me make and try a New York sour for the first time. It is safe to say it exceeded my expectations. I was proven wrong. It is a delicious cocktail. If you are a fan of a New York sour and you make them at home, please do let me know. How did I do? Is there anything that I should do differently? Is there a specific type of red wine that I should include? Should I have done the angostura bitters at the end? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more easy cocktails that you can make at home, I will link a playlist up here. And if you have not already, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every single week and I would love to have you back for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next one. Cheers!